Hi, I'm Andrew Berman from the Mortgage News Network, coming to you from the Eminent Studios here in New York. You're watching a video press release, and today I'm proud to announce that Kristy Fercho, who's the president of mortgage over at Flagstar Bank, has been named the vice chair over at the MBA. Kristy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Andrew. It's great to be here with you.
So listen, it's so cool it's an honor to have you on here. It's an honor to be, to have the opportunity to interview you, to talk about this. But, I really wanted to go back actually to one of our previous interviews. We talked about actually making sure our organizations look like the communities we serve. And do you view that something as more of a Flagstar thing, or is this something the entire industry? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's something that I think is for both Flagstar and the industry. I mean, for Flagstar, certainly, we're a bank here in Michigan. We got the 100 branches here in Michigan, and then 52 kind of branches all throughout the Midwest, and then 8 branches out in California. So when you think about a bank, it is important to mirror the communities in which you serve, right? As people are going into banks and we're working in the communities to make loans and to be their banking partner, it's really important that we look like the people in the communities we serve. We mirror the communities, and they feel like we as their bank or their trusted advisors engaged in their community, helping them support their individual needs, but also what's happening in the community. And so for Flagstar, it's certainly important broadly for us to look like the communities we serve. But then I think for the industry, it's absolutely critical. And the mortgage business for Flagstar is we operate in all 50 states. For the industry, I think, you always hear people talk about the average age of, realtors or the average age of appraisers, and people are aging out. I think the opportunity really presents itself for us to look at the demographics that's coming in home ownership and what that's going to look like, the demographics of our country, frankly, and what the changing demographics are going to be as we look to 2020, 2025, and see that the majority of first-time home buyers are going to be people of color. And so I think having our industry mirror the communities in which we serve is going to be absolutely critical. So when I think about this initiative, I think diversity and inclusion and really looking like the communities in which you serve is not only a Flagstar initiative, but it is something that as an industry we really have to embrace.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I'm glad to see actually, our industry has been putting forth a lot of initiatives to address that. But so listen, I'm going to jump topics here. Looking at your resume, you have an atypical resume when it comes to an MBA chairperson. So we look at this. I mean, you've worked with coming from working in human resources with big brands like PepsiCo. I'm curious if you have anything that you could take away from your time working with big brands like PepsiCo that you think our industry could learn from those big brands.
Yeah, well, one of the things at Pepsi that Pepsi is extraordinary about is really they're obsessed about the customer and customer needs. I mean, when I think about the innovation that happened at Pepsi, everything was really tied to what did the customer want. And, when you think about all the new flavor profiles, whether it be a new flavor of Dorito or the newest, flavor for Mountain Dew, all of that was based on what customer interests and what customer demands were. And that drove all the innovation. And I think that is one thing that we can actually take from a big brand like Pepsi, that obsession about the customer to really drive innovation. And what was really powerful about it, so Pepsi, kind of had this thing of, can it be $1 billion brand, right? And they would put out flavor profiles in the market every couple of months, and they weren't afraid to put something out, test it. If it worked, then they continued to develop and market it. If it didn't, they pulled it off and moved forward. And I think that agile innovation is something in mortgage that we could certainly learn something about. We've talked about technology, kind of coming on board. We've talked about the need for mortgage to innovate, to keep up with the rest of financial services. And I think we're just slow to act in that regard, and we're too methodical about it, tied too much to our paper processes. And I think the time really is here to look at some of those other industries and really challenge ourselves in terms of how do we drive that level of innovation really focused on customer needs like other industries. Pepsi, certainly Amazon, There's a host of others that do Zappos that do that really well. And I think that's an opportunity for us to look at those other brands and see what we can learn and bring into mortgage.
Yeah, I think it's great, and I think being consumer focused is super important, and especially since you talk about actually about what a real impact. I mean, we're not just helping people with financial decisions; we're changing lives. You've said this before, that we have a connection to this industry, or you have a connection to this industry that's not just about units and doing more loans this month than you did last month. So. Is that something that you think can be learned or shared with others? I mean, because I got to say, a lot of people in this industry have that philosophy, but not everyone. And I just wonder if it's something that you can inspire others to have that same mentality.
Yeah, I do. I think part of what gets me excited and kind of part of I think my success along my journey has been I'm just really passionate about what I do. I was passionate about selling chips and soda when I was at Pepsi. I'm passionate about home ownership. And I think what the gift that we have being in the mortgage industry is we have the unbelievable blessing of being able to put people in homes and help them achieve the American dream. And that's something that's worth getting excited about. When people talk about driving excitement and creating cultures, I mean, we have the ability to kind of connect employees' heads and hearts, right? The head is what they do to work every day, but the heart is what gives them meaning and what gives them purpose. And putting people in homes and helping people achieve the American dream is something that gets a lot of people excited, that's so mission oriented and allows us to be able to do good at work every day. So I think in this industry, we have an unbelievable gift to be able to do that. And I do think it's something that can be shared. You hear the saying, people talk about, do what you love and the money will follow. And I think being able to help others and give back to others is just something that's so natural for us in the housing industry. And so it is an excitement. It is something that I think can be shared, that mentality of we're doing good by helping others. And so I think our businesses can grow when we focus on others, and I think it's just good for the industry.
So now, but if we go back actually in your career, when you first started working, as you got recruited into Fannie Mae. Now, did you love what you did then? I mean, did you have the love for the business just coming into this saying, I'm going to work for Fannie Mae and do exactly this? Or was it something that came in later on saying, wow, look at the impact that we have?
Yeah, actually my move to Fannie Mae was really, it was strategic in that 9/11 had just taken place, and I really was thoughtful about, although I loved Pepsi and I loved selling chips and soda, after 9/11, I think I really checked my heart and said, do I want to do this for the rest of my life, or do I want to go somewhere where I can balance this altruistic need to give back with this workaholic DNA? And actually, I started researching companies that could really help me balance that need. And Fannie Mae was one of the companies I started researching after 9/11. And just ironically, or not ironically, I actually believe it was divinely appointed, but I got a call from a headhunter on October 11th about the job at Fannie Mae. And so 30 days later, and I started going through the interview process and then got the job and started at Fannie Mae in early 2002. And so I did walk in being intentional about, I wanted to go somewhere where I could really be in a mission-driven company and kind of work at that each and every day. So I did go in being passionate about what the business was. Now, I didn't fully appreciate mortgage at the time, but as I learned it and as I saw the impact on homeowners, I definitely got connected to it. And I think even moving, Fannie was in the secondary market, now being at Flagstar in the primary market, I see it every day.
Yeah,
I mean, my phone rings and I am actually talking to consumers if they have problem loans, or I get the thank you notes and the pictures of the home, and I get to see when my LOs go to closings, I get to see the pictures of them with the homeowners at the closing table or standing in front of the house giving the keys. I mean, it just gives me goosebumps to think about. So yeah, that passion, I had it going in, but it certainly has grown as I've gotten closer to the consumer.
Yeah, I mean, funny you should say goosebumps. I literally had goosebumps as you told me that story. That's phenomenal. That's great. So this is this came organically to you. So listen, you've been involved with the MBA for some time. I'm sure you've had ideas of what you do. You didn't just wake up one day and someone said, "Hey, Kristy, what are you doing? Do you want to become the chairman of the MBA?" I mean, how did this happen, and what is your plan?
Actually, it happened just like that. So yeah, I've been on the board now. I've been on the board for 2 years, but literally I got a phone call first from Dave Motley and then from Chris George, who's the current chairman, saying, "We want you to be on the ladder of the MBA." And it's an overwhelming thing to think about because, as you said, I didn't grow up in the mortgage industry. And so it's an overwhelming thing to even think about, but also an incredibly humbling thing to think about. And I just had a great opportunity to talk to so many of the people on the ladder today. So Brian Stoffers and Susan Stewart, who I'll be on the ladder with, but then also all the past chairmen. And they've just, from Bill Emerson, Bill Cosgrove, they were just amazingly, Deb Still, just amazingly generous with their time and helping me understand what the role was and what the impact that this was and could have. And after talking with my CEO and, really figuring out kind of, did this make sense for not only me, but for Flagstar and for the industry, I said yes and kind of took up the mantle of leadership. But it literally happened kind of that quickly and over a matter of kind of months, just really thinking through, how could I really help further this in the industry and kind of what would my contribution be to that. And you get to see some visibility of that on the board, but the ladder, I think, is just a different level.
Yeah, but so you just mentioned something about Flagstar. Does it make sense for Flagstar? So now how are you going to do that? Because it's not like actually all your responsibilities are just going to go away and disappear at Flagstar. But you're climbing this ladder and really even beyond after you've become the chairman and passed that torch on to the next person. It's a very involved role. How are you going to manage your responsibilities between being the president of mortgage for Flagstar Bank and actually being the chairman of the MBA, vice chairman to chairman?
Yeah, it's a great question. And since it's been a week that I've had to get my head around the role, I don't know the answer to your question yet. I will tell you, it is the thing that I talked most with my boss, Sandro Danello, who's the CEO of Flagstar. That's what he and I spent most of our time on because I don't have a number two that can run the company while I go run the MBA. I have an incredible team, and so I've got confidence in their ability to do it. But Sandra was very clear to make sure that I was aware that my first obligation is to Flagstar Bank and the shareholders of Flagstar.
Of course.
But as I think about it, I reflect back on when I went and got an MBA, and I was at Pepsi. And I went and did an MBA, kind of a full-time program, getting my MBA while I was working full-time at Pepsi. And so, I think back on those days and how I balanced that and, just how I set up my schedule. And, you just have to be like ultra aggressive about how you prioritize, getting really clear about what are the things I have to do and what are the things I can delegate to others, or what are the things that just aren't going to get done during this period of time. And so I'm sure I'll, kind of do the same thing as I understand more. And that's what I think is so great about the ladder for the MBA is in this first year of vice chairman, my responsibilities probably won't be any more than what I would have as a board member. But then I'll get the visibility over, kind of the 2 years until I step into the chairman role over the third year. So it not only understand the issues and how they're important to the MBA, but really start to formulate what you just asked, Andrew, which is, what's going to be kind of my legacy and what will I uniquely be able to bring to this role and how to think about that. So I think that will get shaped over the 3 years that I'm on the ladder, and I'll figure out how to balance the time in the meantime.
Awesome. Fantastic. All right. I'm so excited to see what great things are going to come of you as you climb this ladder. And of obviously the music's not stopping at Flagstar Bank and can continue to do great things over there. So, Kristy, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Andrew. I really appreciate it. It's always great to be with you.
All right. And I'm Andrew Berman from the Mortgage News Network. Thank you for watching.